Hi there, folks! This is Adam from 8 Badge Gaming coming to you today with the final video in our Noivern Garbodor series, which is our deck review. Today we're going to discuss the matchups that we faced, what cards we enjoyed in the deck, what we might potentially change out, and if we would continue playing the deck further, as well as an overall letter grade on how we consider the deck played out. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and bring the deck up on screen while we discuss the matchups that we had. Now, in round one, we were paired up against Malamar Necrozma. Now, typically, this is a pretty good matchup for us. Ability lock on the Garbodor, the Garbotoxin shutting down Psychic Recharge and Invasion, that particular combination for the Dawnwings and the Malamars, is going to do a lot for us. Now, in this particular game, they were able to get around it. They were able to just KO our Garbotoxin to completely turn it off, and we just fell behind. They were able to just grind out a win over us. I think overall we're probably slightly favored in that matchup. Garbotoxin does quite a bit for us, and if we can keep a Distort active to keep them from ever using a Field Blower, then they're just not going to be able to get out of it. And we'll discuss that exact situation when we talk about our Ultra Necrozma matchup in the end, but we'll keep it just on the Malamar Necrozma for now. Now, I have to say, the Mewtwo from Malamar Necrozma, the Mewtwo GX, did a lot of work against us. With us only being able to effectively hit for 20 with the Distorts, while they were hitting us back for 60 because of the heal on the Mewtwo, it just put us way too far behind. And then the Mewtwo being able to GX to just one-shot a Noivern, we didn't want that to happen, but unfortunately we couldn't really prevent it. Now, could we have played the first round better? We definitely could have. It was our first experience actually playing the deck, but I definitely think that if we were more experienced with the deck, if we had slightly better draws, we would have still been able to actually win that round. Now, our round two was the Mono Zoroark deck, and that was effectively a bye for us. We are so strong into that deck with Noivern Garbodor that it's almost unfair. Being able to go with our Garbodor, turn off their trade ability first, so we can get our initial setup going, say turn off trade, start with a Distort to keep them from field blowing, and then being able to do Sonic Volume with our Noivern GX to just straight shut down their ability to attach special energy means that they quite literally can't attack with their Zoroarks. We have the two of Enhanced Hammers in the deck that will help us knock off any energy they manage to sneak down before Sonic Volume goes off, but being able to just Sonic Volume turn after turn after turn means they can quite literally not attack with their deck. So Sonic Volume was definitely the MVP in that matchup, and once we got that lock in place with the Sonic Volume the first time, without them having any energy in play, they ended up just scooping up the game to us. And frankly, I would have scooped up too, because there is quite literally no way they're going to be able to win, short of, say, Guzmaing up, say, a Garbodor that doesn't have a tool on it, or an ability to retreat, to give them a turn where they can then follow up the next turn attaching a DCE and attack. But in that particular case, if we have an Enhanced Hammer to knock the DCE off and just Sonic Volume again, they're back exactly where they started. Now, our third matchup was against Greninja Break. And that was a bit of a harder matchup early on. We really need to be able to get Garbotoxin active early and get Distort happening early as well, because we need to keep them from field blowing us. And if they don't have the ability to use the Shuriken from the Greninja Break, then we're pretty well off. Now, we had a bit of a grim situation initially where they were able to just get a lot of damage in. We weren't able to get the ability to lock on effectively. We weren't able to get enough damage in initially that they just KO'd our Noiverns, and we were so far behind. But thankfully, we were able to get an end them low, get Garbotoxin active, and get Trash Avalanche active. At that point, they had stopped caring about the item count in their discard. They didn't expect the Trash Avalanche to come down, and we just started one-shotting every one of their Pokemon. They just couldn't win. They had a couple chances to draw out of it, but they were only drawing a single card a turn, and we were just able to get there. Now, round 4 was Ultra Necrozma, as I mentioned early, and Ultra Necrozma showed exactly how we normally go against the actual Necrozma builds. We were able to get the ability lock going with Garbotoxin, got the Distort lock going with shutting them down from actually getting a field blower, and we got a choice band going on the Noivern as well. So we were hitting for 80 a turn. That looks like a 3-shot against any of the Pokemon that they're playing, short of the Malamars themselves, which would be a 2-shot where they're sitting at 90 HP. But we were able to very much effectively take down that game. Now, we did make a little bit of a misplay where we accidentally clicked on a Sonic Volume at one point instead of a Distort near the end, but they never hit the Field Blower that they needed to be able to suit up, and we were just able to get the KO either way. Now, reviewing over the deck, depending on your meta, I could see potentially dropping one of the Enhanced Hammers. When you're going against a lot of decks that are just running straight basic energy, Enhanced Hammer feels bad. But thankfully, there's enough going around right now running special energies, whether it's, say, the Rainbow Energy in some deck, DCE in a lot of the Zoroark builds, the Strong Energy and the Beast Energy in our decks like, say, Buzzwole and things like that. There's enough targets around that I still can consider keeping it at the 2 of, but I guess it depends on your local meta, what you're going in, playing this against, etc. I could see potentially dropping that to up the choice bound count. There was quite a few times that we really wish that we had another choice band going to get the extra damage from the Distort. Hitting for 80 with the Distort feels a lot better, especially if the Sonic Volume can then follow up for 150, because that's going to KO just about every Pokemon in the format right now. Now, the only other change that I would really potentially suggest would be the Acerola count. Now, Acerola I wasn't too impressed with, and that's mainly because of our requirement of attaching 3 individual energies to get our Noivern to a Sonic Volume, or even just a 2 energy attachment to be able to Distort. So Acerolaing a Noivern generally feels bad unless you have another one suited up and ready to go, and that requires at least 6 turns worth of individual energy attachments to have that going the way that you want it to. Over Acerola, I could see playing another Cynthia, just upping the draw supporter count. There was a couple times that we got stuck without a draw supporter period, and I would like a Cynthia more over a Sycamore. There's lots of times that we don't want to discard what we have in hand, because it's either the energy we require over multiple turns to be able to suit up our Noivern, it's the items that we need to make sure that our Garbotoxin stays live, etc. So Cynthia is just a better trainer in that particular part, where it's not discarding anything out of our hand. It retains whatever cards that we have in hand within our deck. Now, with the rest of the deck, I like the counts that we're currently sitting at. I like the 4-3 line on the Noibat Noivern. I like the 2 of Lele. We don't really want any more there because we're trying to shut down abilities with Garbotoxin. I think the 3 and then the 1-2 split on Trubbish and Garbodors is fine. Trash Avalanche can be incredibly useful late in the game, and Garbotoxin is pretty consistent overall. I don't think we need to increase the counts on the Trubbish or the Garbodors to make sure that we have them always, because I think the 3 of count is still going to be fine there. Now, the Enhanced Hammers I already mentioned. The Mysterious Treasure is a 3 of. I don't think we want to bring it up as to a 4 of, just because Noibat isn't going to be able to be hit by it. Quite literally any other Pokemon in our deck can be, but it doesn't hit everything. So I like the 4-3 line of the Ultra Ball to Mysterious Treasure. In some decks, like say the Malamar Necrozma or Ultra Necrozma, Mysterious Treasure is hitting quite literally everything in the deck in those cases, so Mysterious Treasure is fine. We don't really care so much about having the full 4 of Ultra Ball in that case, because Mysterious Treasure is just quite literally better most of the time. Now, the 1 of Rescue Stretcher is fine. I don't think we need to increase or decrease the count there. I definitely want to keep it in the deck, because being able to buy back a KO'd Pokemon or shuffle 3 back into your deck for you to potentially draw again is just a strong effect. Parallel City is good. Limiting our opponent's bench space is always good overall. Sometimes even just straight reducing the damage that they deal can turn their 2 shots into 3 shots against us for our Noiverns and things like that. We definitely want to keep it as a 2 of Bridget, because we want the consistency of being able to actually get a Bridget with a Lele on the first turn if at all possible. There were quite a few times we actually got to natural Bridget, which was surprising given that it was only a 2 of. But we don't want to put it any higher. The lists that you see more than 2 of Bridget in the deck are the Zoroark lists, because they can discard the Bridgets later in the game to just draw cards via trade. Now, I already considered the Acerola and Cynthia counts, but I don't think we need to change the Guzma counts at all. 3 of seems perfectly fine. Sometimes it will be a dead card because we don't want to force up anything on our opponent's bench. but Guzma works very well with the free retreat and the Noivern. I have to say that the 3 of is definitely a good number. We don't need any more or any less. I would always keep the 4 of N in pretty much any Garbotoxin deck, being able to put your opponent down in cards if they've gotten ahead rather early in the game, they've gotten lower on prizes than you are, forcing them down on cards, while you still have the ability to use other draw supporters and things like that. It's just going to be good for us. I don't think we want any more than the 2 of Sycamore because of the forced discard from it. Discarding your hand when pretty much all the time we want to be able to keep the cards that we have in hand is not really where we want to be. Now, I still think we keep it as a 2 of because sometimes we're either don't care about the cards in hand or we're low enough in hand that discarding 1 or 2 cards is just better to draw the straight 7, the extra card over, say, the Cynthia, over what you potentially have in hand. It can just be good. Now, the tool count, we definitely keep it as a 4 of Floatstone. I already considered potentially increasing the choice band by 1 if we're decreasing the enhanced hammer by 1, but that's going to be more meta dependent. And I definitely like the 2 of Wish Batons. The Wishful Batons are going to allow one of your Noiverns to be KO'd and move all the energy on them onto another Noivern. Now, there's going to be times like we saw against Malamar where they just field blower our Wish Baton, take the KO, and then we're left with no energy on our follow-up Noivern, and we just lose the game because of it. So if you're going to use the Wishful Baton, I wouldn't depend too highly on it, unless you have the ability to make sure that you're distorting instead of sonic following, for example, because a distort is going to keep it from being blown off. Now, the energy counts, the 7 Dark, 4 Psychic is, I think, exactly where we need to be. I wouldn't adjust these counts any further. Again, as we mentioned during the deck tech, the reason that we're running the basic Psychic over, say, Rainbow Energy is because of the Wishful Batons, being able to move the energy back onto one of your benched Pokemon. Sometimes the added 10 damage can be applicable as well, but generally won't be. From the Rainbow Energy, that is. Now, overall, I'd give this deck probably a solid B. I would play it again, but I would want to play it in a casual event. There are times where you just get stuck in hand, that you're just not going to be able to do what you need to do with the deck, and you're going to have a bad time. Now, if you're looking to take it to something like a special event, a League Cup, a Regionals, I would only take it if this is the deck that you have been playing frequently. The main reason there is, more often than not, the experience with a deck will trump overall card quality. If you've never played Buzzwole before, but you've played 100 games with Noivern, then I would recommend taking Noivern over Buzzwole, even though Buzzwole is technically the stronger deck. Now, that overall does clue up our deck review there today. Now, we do always like to hear your feedback. We still have our poll up right now that you can use to vote what deck you'd like to see teched and played next week. I will always be happy to hear any feedback, any criticisms, etc. on what we could do better with our videos, whether it's the review, the deck tech, the gameplay videos, etc. If there's anything that we can do better, feel free to let us know. If there's anything that we can do to help you, if you have any questions with regards to changes you want to make to a deck, if you need any assistance with building a deck from scratch, if you are looking for advice on gameplay overall, we will be happy to do what we can to help. Now, with that said, we greatly appreciate your viewership here at 8 Badge Gaming, and this is Adam signing off.